Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages. Boy, the old adage of go woke, go broke just continues to be told, proven true time and time again, ladies and gentlemen, because after all of the fallout with Sweet Baby Inc., Cabrutos and Grums and everybody else calling them out and making sure that everybody knew exactly what this corporation was all about, what this, what do they like to call it, this nice, privately, non-profit funded organization that just helps out with narrative issues inside of video games, which we all know what this kind of stuff represented. It didn't take long to look over at Sweet Baby Inc.'s website to find out exactly what kind of nonsense they were trying to push and the kind of agenda-driven things that they were going for. Well, ladies and gentlemen, another organization that is out there has been jumping into those kind of stuff, and it was actually founded on these very ideals of pushing a woke agenda in video games based on false accusations, is now out there begging for money after receiving massive amounts of your taxpayer dollars in order to keep them afloat and keep this organization established, are now out there begging, because if not, they will be completely and totally closed down. And if that is not sweet, sweet justice, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what is. So from our friends over at thatparkplace.com, activist organization that encouraged game developers to denounce gamers is now begging for $80,000 in order to remain open. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the activist cults out there that have been pushing this kind of agenda nonsense and been blackmailing studios into bowing down to all of their cult demands is now out there begging for not just a little bit of money, but $80,000 to keep their organization afloat after already receiving over $700,000 of your hard-earned taxpayer dollars. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to share this article from That Park Place, get into all the juicy details, give you some examples of all of their crazy organization wokeness out there, as well as show you exactly how much money they have received from a wonderful department and why inside the United States government they're handing out money like this. But before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share with all your friends, and subscribe or follow if you are not already, because we're grinding, we're growing, and we're doing everything we can to give you as much relative information that you keep you informed out there as we possibly can. Also, leave us a comment in the section down below. Let us know if this surprises you in any way, shape, or form, and does it also reconfirm the idea that yes, indeed, 2024 may indeed be the year that woke goes to die. So, from our dear sweet friend John F. Trent, the activist organization Take This, that has received a significant funding from the United States government, is now begging its followers to give them $80,000 in order to keep its doors open. The organization was brought into the public eye when it posted a blog back in March encouraging game developers to denounce gamers for defending themselves from Sweet Baby Inc. The organization stated, "If you're reading this, you've probably been hearing about what's been going called Gamergate 2. It's the latest targeted harassment campaign within the game industry, and it's aimed at Sweet Baby Inc., a Montreal-based narrative development studio. But as we all know, none of this is true. This is an absolute lie. All that happened was a Brazilian gamer, Cabrutos Rambo, created a Steam list specifically citing that SBI and Sweet Baby Inc. had been involved in these games' development, and considering the results that we had seen of them, i.e. Suicide Squad Kills the Justice Leagues and so many others out there, we knew what this organization was about. We knew the kind of influence that they were blackmailing these companies into putting into their games, convincing them that this is the new hot trendy thing and you're going to be so much more inclusive, you're going to bring in so many more people. Not realizing the fact, and obviously not telling them the truth, that this will also ostracize a massive amounts of your fan base and cost you hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions, over the years when you try to force this kind of stuff. By the way, how did that work out for Warner Brothers Games? How is that working out for Ubisoft right now? Yes, this is one disastrous dumpster fire after another. So after all of this harassment, after trying to go after Cabrutos, after trying to get them deplatformed, after trying to get them demonetized, after trying to get them canceled, and of course get their Steam list pulled, well, that all failed miserably, blew up completely and totally in their faces, and they have lost that fight entirely. So shout out to Grums and our dear sweet friends Cabrutos, because literally it was a targeted campaign. They literally had people going out there telling them to report this group, going on and on and on, and report the creator since he loves this account so much. They were literally trying to get his list and his creator account on Steam canceled. Needless to say, it did not work out for them in any way, shape, or form. Nevertheless, despite pushing an easily refuted lie, the organization then demanded developers denounce gamers opposed to Sweet Baby Inc. and their goals of injecting the objectively evil ideology of wokeness into video games. Well written, John. The organization wrote, "You may be inclined to be quiet or cautious, but that's actually not helpful. As noted in other resources empowering the games industry, a major lesson learned from Gamergate was the importance of taking a loud public stance. At the time, many studios were hesitant to address the hate and abuse from the Gamergate in any meaningful way. The reasons varied, but usually the hesitation was born out of fear of losing profits or concerning that taking a stance would attract the attention of the Gamergate mob." Oh, yes. And for our friendly FYI, for a quick little history lesson on what Gamergate was, if you didn't know, well, ladies and gentlemen, that was where a female game developer who created an abysmally bad game then decided to sleep with a bunch of video game journalists out there in order to get them to review her game positively. And guess what? All the information got leaked out there for publicly available so we could all see the truth about it. And it blew up in their faces as well. But they tried to accuse us of being sexist and racist and everything else for calling them out for their shoddy journalism out there. And of course, getting bought and paid for in the way of the oldest profession in the United States. Yes, we know, or in the world. And yes, we know exactly what that makes you. Was it worth it? Was it worth sacrificing a small piece of your soul to sleep with these people for video game reviews that ended up completely and totally blowing up in your faces? I guess you'll have to think about that one for yourself. Well, guess what? After their targeted harassment came failing miserably in their world and blowing up in their faces because the entire gaming industry and people out there actually rejected this nonsense because gamers know better. Less than 6 months after this post, the organization's research director, Rachel Corrett, resigned from her position. As reportedly by ARS technician Ashley Banger, Corrett also founded the organization after encountering a 2019 nationally representative survey from the ADL, yes, the Area Defense League, another one of those woke activist organizations that is involved in politics and the culture. It found that nearly 1 in 4 respondents were exposed to extremist white supremacist ideology in their online games. And of course, that all ended up turning out to be false. It ended up being a very trumped up kind of survey that, of course, just like anybody else knows, if you do not look at their actual data, the headlines can be manipulated into anything you want and give you a false sense of what the thing actually says. And even she even asked the guy that was head of the research later if that was actually the number of 1 in 4. And it turns out he even told her, no, that wasn't the actual number. It was just some BS nonsense you read on the internet and ran with it without doing any kind of actual research yourself. You founded an entire organization on this that you had to resign from, and now is out there begging for money, boys and girls. So she wrote on X, "I'm getting a lot of queries about this post meaning I'm leaving games. I am not leaving games. I just resigned from my former position." Boy, I wonder if you were getting out before the ship sunk, huh? To no one's surprise, Corrett admitted in the Game 2002 presentation that all of the stuff that we just talked about. So not only did Corrett resign from a position, but the entire organization is now begging for $80,000 in order to keep it afloat. In a post to the company's website at the end of August, Dr. Rafael Bakamazar, the organization's clinical director, wrote, "A clinical director? They have a clinical director in an organization like this? Weird, weird, weird. This might be the most bittersweet post I've ever written in my tenure with Take This. You may have noticed our plea for financial support earlier this year. As hard as we've worked to make up that gap, we still need significant help. With your support, Take This and all of our impactful programs will cease to exist." Oh, the horror. Oh, the tragedy. An organization that tried to destroy a video game developer out there, someone who tried to go out there and try to ostracize an entire community and tried to get people canceled, is now being canceled because of a lack of funding. Boy, isn't the irony sweet, ladies and gentlemen? Maybe it's true. Maybe 2024 really is the year that woke goes to die. After listing out her views as the organization's accomplishments, he stated, "If we don't raise $80,000 by the end of September, all of this will disappear." Oh, what a tragedy. I don't think anyone's going to miss it. And how did this organization even come to be? Well, the company received a split of nearly $700,000 in grant money from the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, through its Targeted Violence and Terrorism Prevention Grant Program. Because yes, ladies and gentlemen, an organization out there trying to push back against a false report, an absolute lie, and something that turned out to not even be true, that white supremacy was taking over video games and infecting all of these people out there. Everybody was going against it. Yes, your very own Department of Homeland Security, who of course thinks white supremacy is the #1 terrorist threat in America, decides to go out there and give this company $700,000 in grant money to push back against that. So not only has your $700,000 in your taxpayer money out there been completely and totally flushed down the toilet on a woke activist organization campaign that I'm sure you probably do not agree with in any way, shape, or form, now the company that they helped start up, help fund, and keep going is now out there begging for $80,000 just to keep their doors open. They have to have it by the end of September. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope they don't get a penny. Knowing this time in the era, though, there's probably still enough insane people out there that are completely and totally down with the woke cult agenda, possessed by the spirit of the age, who have way too much money that they never actually made, that they probably inherited or got off of somebody else. Champagne socialists, we call them after all, might end up funding this, might end up writing them a check. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if they do or not. It doesn't matter if they're able to limp along for a little bit longer because some insane person out there with way too much money and way more money than brains decides to keep them afloat. At the end of the day, this is a time-tested, another example of go woke, go broke. This organization was founded on advocating for the cult and pushing their agenda. And now they are out there on the street begging for money just to keep them afloat. If that's not irony, if that's not a beautiful, beautiful cosmic justice, probably ordained by God himself, so that way we could mock, laugh, and ridicule these fools for pushing this kind of absolute evil into our culture, I don't know what is, boys and girls. So guess what? We're not going to miss you. Take this. And you know what? You can take this. Go woke, go broke. You're not going to get your money. You're going to fail. And the culture is going to continue to reject you. You have failed miserably. You tried to push a lie. No one's believed you. And now you're out there for begging for scraps just to keep afloat. Needless to say, I think we all can agree that we hope you will certainly sink.